We were always aiming for those large contracts where we could get business for every branch. All those individuals were losing out, and therefore team was put together, and it means it's the employment agents movement, and they join together and they share jobs. They support each other. So they're making sure they're collaborating, and they may be competitors, but they're collaborating on jobs and making sure they're getting placements. And 50% of a placement is better than 0% of a placement.
Welcome to the All in Recruitment podcast by Manatal, where we explore best practices, learnings, and trends with leaders in the recruitment space. If you like our content, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify to stay tuned for our weekly episodes. I'm your host, Lydia, and with us this week is Angela Cripps, MD of Recruiting Gym. Pleasure to have you with us today, Angela. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So what drove you to lead this recruitment training company, right? And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about Recruiting Gym and how it works, and has your vision or your idea for the recruiting community evolved since it took over?
Yeah, so I took over, coming up for 4 years ago now. The Recruiting Gym was founded by Alex Moyle, and it was about setting up a community where people could learn from each other, that the training, the coaching, the consultancy that we do was an opportunity for people to really enhance their skills and to make our industry a better industry. So it's all about raising standards. And certainly my recruitment life, I've been involved in anything and everything that's going to improve standards. I'm always happy to say yes, and therefore this was something that I got involved with when Alex started his A to Z of recruitment. He picked 26 different people to pick a letter and to then give a little tip and a hint. So there are 26 hints and tips. I took C because I wanted to do the candidate and the candidate's experience. And this is 5-6 years ago now, when he was thinking of starting it. So I got involved quite early on. During COVID, it got a lot more to the point where I was ending up pretty much running the company. And Alex said, okay, well, yeah, you're running it better than I am. So do you want to be MD? And I was like, great. And then by the end of the year, he's like, actually, I'm looking for my next challenge. Do you want to buy it? So he still owns 20%. I own 80% of the Recruiting Gym, and we work in partnership there.
How large is the community? How many members do you have? And are they all paying members?
So I just had a look this morning, because we've had a webinar this morning bringing our leadership and management group together. There's 3,186 people that are members of the Recruiting Gym. Some of those are part of networks. So example, I believe we've got 800 managers from the team network, and that's part of their membership. So the way that we work together. So no, unfortunately, they're not all paying members. But one of the reasons we wanted to do that is that we produce a lot of information that we can share with people to help them be better. And we wanted for people, especially during lockdown during 2020, to have an opportunity to do training for themselves and to take that time to be able to do that. And therefore, we have courses. They're not training courses necessarily. They are a collation of information under 8 different topics. So, for example, Meet the Expert. There's been 47 of those. We do one a month where it's free training for people. So actually 47 different topics. There is so much in there from amazing experts, 46 different people, because one person's done it twice. And therefore, yeah, you can look through just that one course and gain so much training for free. So there are pro bono courses where we want to support, we want to help, so people have access to those.
Angela, what are some significant shifts that you've seen, maybe in the recent years, maybe in the past 5 years since Recruiting Gym has been set up, right?
Well, it's one of the reasons why I love the recruitment industry. I've been in it just over 35 years now. So there's been lots of ups and downs and twists and turns, and there's always something new. I think probably the last 5 years has been the biggest shift that we've seen in the recruitment industry. And certainly I was using things like Skype. Who uses Skype now? 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was doing a lot of work in Australia. So sometimes I was there, but otherwise I was doing webinars at 10, 11, 12, 2 in the morning even. And therefore Skype was ideal for that. So we were using that type of technology to go global before the pandemic, but it wasn't accepted by a lot of people. So when 2020 happened, it was forced upon those people, and they realized, actually, I can do a lot of this. And certainly from my business and from people that I talk to, those initial conversations now, the opportunity to ask questions, gather information to understand, we don't need to be at the location. We can do that over Zoom, Skype, Teams, Google Hangout, whichever one that you prefer. And therefore, we can speed up the process because we can identify whether we are likely to be able to work together or not before making that type of time commitment that we always used to do. We would always go face-to-face meetings. Of course, now we can do it this way, and we can gather a lot of information in half an hour to then decide, do we want to move on? So I think that the technology in that sense has really helped us to make connections we might not have done. Of course, we're very much more aware of mental health and well-being and neurodiversity. They became forefront as well during those times. So I'm so glad to see that has moved forward. And there's technology out there that you can add to whatever virtual meeting you want to use, where it will keep your eyes focused on the camera, because a lot of people do struggle with that. And if you are neurodiverse, again, that sort of focus and keeping eye contact is really hard for people. And therefore, there's technology out there to support that. And of course, then we've got AI and automation, ChatGPT coming in. So we really delved into that to identify this potential for the future. And the one that I want to highlight that sort of sums up these last 5 years and how it's moved the recruitment industry forward is a restaurant in Japan that is utilizing people that are paraplegics to serve in restaurants. So just take a moment and realize, obviously, paraplegics haven't got the use of their arms or their legs, and yet they're servers in restaurants. And you're like, how does that work? They are controlling the robot server in the restaurant from their bed with their mouth. How amazing is that? So from a disability point of view, the development that we've got to help people to join the workplace and to be the best that they can be if they want to has certainly spread far and wide, which means we've opened up our talent pools. And if you're not looking at diversity, equity and inclusion in any way, shape or form, then you're missing out. You definitely are, and you're going to get left behind. So there wasn't a short answer to that one, because 5 years, so much has happened, isn't it? But I think they're probably some of the key things for me that really make me excited about what's to come.
It's also interesting when you talk about that case in Japan, is because, skills itself, they're not specific to a certain job anymore. And you can take them and put them onto another job description. You can really cross those skills onto different jobs and see what happens. I mean, that's the whole idea behind evolution and innovation, in fact, right?
Exactly. We started with sort of the Industrial Revolution and realizing then that the loom actually ended up creating more jobs, certainly from a technological point of view with the robots with car manufacturing. Yes, it took it away from some, but created so many more jobs when the car came in. So we need to look at it that way, in a positive way. What other opportunities can this generate? And what we're looking at is hoping that a lot of that AI and automation can take away the repetitive jobs, can take away the administrative jobs. Certainly, if you're running a temp desk, there's potentially 27 pieces of documentation you need to make sure that are filled out to get that person out working, even if it's only for a 4-hour shift, and that's to make them get paid. So think about the amount of opportunities there are for that to go wrong. And we've all been there. If you've been in recruitment, you've been there where it's not worked, it's not happened, they've not got paid, and it's due to human error. So actually, these things mean that the likelihood of that happening is less and less, which has only got to be good. And also the speed that it happens with is so much quicker. So yeah, we need to embrace these and obviously utilize it for good.
So Angela, coming back to Recruiting Gym and the way it works, right? It's a community that's based off sharing and encouraging growth between one another. So how do you balance maybe protecting the community or every member in that community, protecting their competitive advantage while you encourage that kind of open sharing with one another?
Yes, well, we always premise it with you share what you're happy to share. So the onus is on the individual, and we certainly wouldn't push them to share any information that they don't feel comfortable doing. I mentioned earlier the team network. So let me just explain that, because I think that probably is a good answer to it. So team, as I said, around 800 companies that are SMEs. Some are solopreneurs, some slightly bigger. But they got together good 30 years ago, actually, had their 30th anniversary this year, to take on the big corporates where they were losing out business that might have been national at the time, if we just take the UK, as that's where they're based. I worked for Blue Arrow, who had 75 locations across the UK. We were always aiming for those large contracts where we could get business for every branch. All those individuals were losing out, and therefore team was put together, and it means it's the employment agents movement, and they join together and they share jobs. They support each other. So they're making sure they're collaborating, and they may be competitors, but they're collaborating on jobs and making sure they're getting placements. And 50% of a placement is better than 0% of a placement. So what we've now identified is that collaboration and support within our industry can get us far further than just trying to be isolated and do it on our own. And yeah, you're going to have situations where you may be up against a competitor. But if we can all support each other and make each other better, then it's just going to be better for our industry as a whole.
Yeah, a community like that definitely brings its advantages and definitely a kind of benefit that we wouldn't expect working by yourself. And so have there been any unexpected benefits that members have discovered through this kind of community participation?
Well, I think one of the key ones is actually, as a team, we've ended up representing that as well. So although it's myself, the Recruiting Gym, we've got Alex Moyle, the founder, we've got sales and marketing with Charlotte. The rest of the team are associates. And so we've got 12 trainers and coaches all around the world that, yes, have their own businesses, but we get together as a team. We're exactly the same. We collaborate so that we can work on big projects and we can support each other. And we do act as a team. We have a team WhatsApp group where we're sharing messages every day and supporting each other, especially supporting each other during these tough times. And then we'll work together on projects. So we can then say, okay, this one's coming up. Who wants to put their hand up for that? So myself, Renuka Gandala and Claire Davis are working on a project at the moment for competency-based interviewing for a large global company. So we get to work in mini teams. And then every month we come together for a team meeting as well. So we get to share knowledge, information, support each other. So unexpected benefits then for the members is they're not just getting 1 or 2 trainers and coaches and management consultants and branding experts and pricing strategists and D&I experts and mental health and wellbeing experts. They're getting this whole team coming together, supporting each other and delivering all of this information. So it's not just recruitment training or leadership and management training, that there's a holistic approach to this. And that's what we've wanted right from the start. So pretty much whatever issue they've got, we've got a team that can help that. And even if we can't do it, which is a situation with this client, we need a Spanish speaker based in Mexico as a trainer. Yeah, we didn't have one of those. But of course, our network does. And therefore, now I'm working with a trainer in France and in Germany. If anyone knows someone in South Korea, I'd like to talk to you. But apart from that, we've got everything else covered.
Now, this kind of collaboration, the many different ideas that come in, all that exposure, the collective exposure that comes together, right? Have there been any new recruitment methodologies or approaches that have maybe emerged from these discussions?
Yes, we've got 2 on the team that run AI courses. And I suppose this is where the change is happening at the moment, where you've actually got avatars, buddies, whatever you want to call them, that are part of the recruitment process. Now, 2 years ago, we were very much, whoa, wait a minute, no, that human interaction, we need that. But actually, keeping the candidates up to date, keeping the clients up to date is something that we struggle with as an industry. And it gives us a bad name. So now we've got avatars. So whether it's in the training, whether it's in CRMs, that they're all integrating this to say, how can I help you with this? What help do you support? Ask me a question and I'll be able to find that. And it might be an update. And as long as they're updating the system, which they should be, they can say, well, the last conversation that we had with the client was yesterday morning. There wasn't an update at that point. So we're still chasing for you. We're still trying to find out what's happening. The possibilities are endless here. Now, that example, actually, the consultant should have been ringing yesterday and telling them no update. So calling and making an update, telling them what's happening, even if it's nothing's happening, that's an update. So we need to make sure. But if they've forgotten, if that's got missed, the fact that there's an avatar that's popping up and saying, this is happening, this is where we are, it's not a no yet, we're still waiting to hear. What a great thing for people to be involved with. And certainly as part of the process beforehand, the recruitment process, where we know you can potentially get thousands of people applying for a role. Having that automation to say, yeah, here's the process, here's how I can help you, here's how many people have applied already, here's people, the number that have got similar skills to you, here's your potential percentage match to this role. So those people that are getting 20% matches, that are just applying to everything and getting told, yeah, you've got no chance. At least they know, and they're not going to feel bad about it because they know they don't match that job either. The issue we've got, and this was the discussion we had, is where you've got people now utilising AI to apply for jobs for them. So you've got AI creating the application and applying. You've got AI, an avatar, responding to that and sharing them. You've got the potential of AI interviewing AI if that gets set up. So we've really got to be careful about this because we're just going to have robots talking to robots, and without any human interaction along the way, this could potentially go very wrong.
So Angela, you've had more than 30 years in this space, and you've obviously, as you've shared quite extensively, you've seen so many of these changes taking place. So for those who are starting out in the recruitment space today, what advice would you give them?
Oh, goodness. There's a lot here. I run a program of interviews called My Life in Recruitment. And we've done it on stage, actually, at the 2 recruitment agency expos in March at the Excel and just a couple of weeks ago at the NEC, where we get people with a minimum of 20 years experience to share the good, the bad and the ugly of our industry so that people are aware of the potential of what their recruitment life might be. But I get them as well to answer, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to someone joining now, or what would you have liked to have been told right back at the beginning? So we have got a massive list of those. From my point of view and my experience, surround yourself with wonderful, positive people that you can learn from. Don't think you know it all. I'm back to the community again, aren't I? Everything threads through with that. Yeah. But I did a talk for Alex, actually, many years ago. We only had 10 minutes and the slides move, I've forgotten what it's called, but the slides move on every 30 seconds. And I ended up talking about all the people that had an impact in my life to get me to where I was. And not surprisingly, because I joined recruitment in the 80s, when in the UK it was 90% women that were in the recruitment industry. So they were pretty much all women that had had a huge impact in my life, right from that first manager, actually right from the first person that interviewed me as I walked in the door. Julie Fowd. So shout out to her. She spotted my potential. She brought me into the industry. And actually, I just did a week's conference running for 100 of her top managers in India. So you never know where those connections are going to take you, because that was a fantastic experience as well in Ahmedabad. So having that network, actively working on it as well. giving back, sharing, paying it forward, whatever terms you want to use, without that expectation, but really develop your network. They say your network is your net worth, don't they? And I really believe that in recruitment, because those individuals can have such an impact on what happens in your life. And certainly, as I mentioned with our WhatsApp group, when things are tough, it's so wonderful to have those positive, wonderful people to give you just an ear sometimes that you need, but otherwise good advice that you think, actually, yeah, I probably knew that, but I need to take that on board, and I need to move forwards with that. So that's one of the best things that you can do in recruitment. And you'll learn, you'll develop, you'll grow, and you'll have opportunities that keep coming your way because of it. So it sort of covers quite a few of those bases.
Yeah, indeed. And as someone who's starting out in recruitment, you'll have all these different ideas of how to approach specific task at hand. And perhaps, listening to a mentor or even having a community might give you that validation that you need. Is this the right way to do it? And yeah, as you said, it's indeed a very powerful experience to have all these people in your entire career still standing by you. And in the end, you're still looking back to the value that they've given to you as a recruiter. So thank you so much for your time and your insights, Angela. This has been great. So for those who are listening in, of course, and those who may have known you in the course of their careers as well, who may want to contact you, where can they find you?
So all the social media channels at Recruiting Jim, also the podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or X. And LinkedIn's probably the best place. So I'm Angela Cripps at Recruiting Jim on there. My email is angela@recruitingjim.com. So feel free to email me or connect with me. And please do put a message if you can, a reference. So that's another tip as well. I must admit, for myself, my world is recruitment. So I do only accept applications, connection requests from people that are in the recruitment industry or have a connection. They could be a supplier to the recruitment industry, because I know that I can support them as well. So make sure that your profile says exactly who you are. And if you haven't got it in your title, you've got quite a few characters on there that you can use. So make sure that it's clear. Who are you? What do you do? So people can then go, yep, connect. Happy to do that.
Great. Thanks again, Angela. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. We have been in conversation with Angela Cripps, MD of Recruiting Jim. Thank you for joining us, and remember to subscribe to stay tuned for more weekly episodes from All in Recruitment.